How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Welcome back to the channel. We got a big video, folks. What a whirlwind of a day. I was at Citi Field for an event, got the chance to speak with the GOAT himself in Steve Cohen, and was even able to get Steve Cohen to share some remarks on the Carlos Correa front, something we have not heard from Cohen since he first reported with Jon Heyman in the New York Post at 3 in the morning over 2 weeks ago that the Mets were inking Correa to that 12-year, $350 million deal. Lots of updates, plenty to discuss, and more, but before I get into it all I ask is that if you're new to the channel, don't hesitate to smash that like and subscribe button. Thank you guys all so much for your endless support as always, and of course I have to let you all know that today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs, so make sure you head over to betonline.ag using promo code Bleav at BLEAV. That way you get yourself a 50% off welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the games begin. And now, folks, let's let the show begin. Like I said, what a whirlwind of a day, so I'm going to just break it down with you all what transpired. I was invited 2 weeks plus ago to an event at Citi Field, and what Steve Cohen was hosting many Mets fans to share their raw opinions on what the Mets and Steve Cohen specifically plans to do around Citi Field. As we know, Steve Cohen, when he first became owner, made note that he wants to build around Citi Field, get rid of the 50 acres of just asphalt and put in a lot of different things, from entertainment to restaurants to casinos, whatever it may be. So a lot of fans, including myself, were invited and got to share our opinions on the matter. It was a phenomenal event at Citi Field, and before I knew it, I found myself on the television. As you see here from left to right, I was talking with CBS New York, and not only myself but my parents too, breaking down our raw reactions and really everything that was going on from the event. And then to the right, you see there me with the legend himself and Steve Cohen. Oh my goodness, it feels insane to actually meet this guy. As many of you all know, Steve Cohen is the exact reason why I started this YouTube channel. I said I'm not going to start covering the Mets until Cohen becomes official owner. I can't cover him with the Wilpons. I just can't do it. Cohen comes in, and here we are 2 years later. What a wild ride it has been. But Cohen, such a phenomenal man to meet. And after I met him and posted that photo, I had every single Mets fan, including many of you that are watching this video, commenting on the photo either on YouTube or on Twitter, saying, Wardy, you need to ask about Carlos Correa. We're still waiting on Correa. Today is also the 2-year anniversary of the Mets acquiring Francisco Lindor. The stars aligning. You got to talk to Cohen about Correa. So what did I do? I got up, and before I left, I went up and approached Steve Cohen again, and I was with my family, friends, girlfriend, and my buddy Richie, who covers the Knicks at Knicks Media and Jets Media. Phenomenal YouTuber as well, good friend of mine. So I went up to Steve Cohen. I said, Steve, I just have to ask you, I have hundreds of Mets fans commenting nonstop, asking for this to happen, and before I even got it out of my mouth, he said, it's about Correa, isn't it? And I said, yes. And he responded with the following, as most of you guys know by now, but I'll say it again. While I can't speak on the player, I do believe we'll have a resolution soon, one way or the other. And that's from the man's mouth himself. So I understand this really does not change much. This is what we know throughout the media thus far. This is what's been reported. Pretty much it's like, okay, the Mets are either going to sign Correa or they're not, and we expect a resolution soon. And I fully expect a resolution. I mean, we could have it happen just a couple hours after this video comes out. I'm hearing a lot of things, conflicting things I'm going to be sharing shortly, but regardless of what Correa's future is, if it's with the Mets or not, it was just nice to hear from Cohen himself actually say this. And again, we haven't heard any remarks from him publicly since he was in Hawaii and at 3 a.m. Eastern time signed that deal with Correa pending the physical, which leads to the issue that we're currently in. But it was an absolute whirlwind again to meet Steve Cohen. I cannot thank him enough. I was invited for future events regarding Citi Field and what they plan to build in the surrounding area, so don't be surprised if you guys see me there. And I'll make sure to shout out on the channel and social media per usual. I was actually taken back a couple hours later. Before we get into further things on Correa, I just want to mention I, for the first time ever, was actually in an article of the New York Post. I was mentioned here, as you see, that they are referencing me exactly with the discussion I had with Cohen. And again, it was a quick discussion on the Correa front. I didn't want to take up too much of his time. I just wanted to, be a straight shooter, ask him and see what he was going to say, and he was as transparent as possible. He had the poker face going, unlike what we saw with Billy Upper when he had that smirk on his face, talking about Kodai Senga, for example, before Senga signed with the Mets. But point is again, it's crazy. I go into this thing before I know it, I'm talking on CBS New York for a segment, along with being mentioned in the New York Post. A crazy day, something that I'm very humbled and grateful for when, again, I really didn't do much. I just got the chance to talk to Steve Cohen, and things really blew up from there. So again, shout out everyone for the endless support. It really does mean the world to me. Love you guys all to death. But now let's get further on Correa for a second. So as I mentioned, I've been hearing a lot of conflicting things, whether they're rumored or factual, that has yet to be seen. There is a contingency of fans and rumors out there that are under the notion that a deal is still going to get done. Even from the article of the New York Post, I will have linked down below for you guys to check out after watching this video, they said themselves that they still view that a deal is more likely going to happen than not between Correa and the Mets. But now what we've seen from Andy Martino, that the Mets are very frustrated and are willing to walk away from a deal if need be, that we discussed in a video yesterday and in a live stream. Make sure to check them out if you haven't already, folks, to get up to date on everything. Along with John Heyman coming out 2 days ago that yes, the Twins are among teams in talks with Correa for the first time since the Mets officially signed him to that $315 million deal over 12 years. So things are really in limbo right now, and I'm going to just say this. If Correa becomes a Met, am I going to be ecstatic? Absolutely. This is what I've been preaching for. This has been going on 2-3 weeks before we know it. We're all fed up with this as Mets and overall baseball fans. We want to see a resolution. I truly believe it's going to happen. But if it does not happen, where Correa does not sign with the Mets, Steve Cohen is going to be the last man to blame, I assure you. Seriously, the Mets, the only concern they have with Correa is the same thing that the Giants did on a long-term standpoint. The obvious idea is that the Mets probably still want Correa long-term, but want insurance protection on that contract, like we've seen with JD Martinez with the Red Sox on that 5-year, $110 million deal years ago, and even with Pudge Rodriguez with the Detroit Tigers at 4 years, $40 million back in the early 2000s. They want that similar type of protection, so if they can't get it, I mean, let's be real, as much as us Mets fans, including myself, want Correa, if Correa doesn't happen, it's more, you'd have to imagine it's selfishness from Correa wanting the best bang for his buck and being stubborn and not wanting to really change much about the 12-year, $315 million contract, which at this point, you might argue maybe that's what the Mets want to change. Maybe the Mets don't want to guarantee that amount of money over that amount of years. And you can't blame them if they have this much concern. Same deal with the Giants. I mean, I thought it was a cold feet situation with the Giants originally, and I was proven wrong by that because the Mets have the same exact medical concern that the Giants do. So it's a big wait and see on what's going to transpire. Again, is it a possibility where the Mets are at fault if this falls through? Anything's possible at the end of the day, but I truly just find it hard to believe who's going to give a more guaranteed contract long-term than what the Mets are going to do right now. Could it be the Twins if they're desperate enough? Maybe. Again, they are more desperate than the Mets, and that's one thing that we need to keep in consideration as Mets fans. The Mets do not need Carlos Correa. They want Carlos Correa. Steve Cohen really wants Carlos Correa. He sold it to us fans through the media, through the New York Post, saying how much he would be perfect for this team. He's the missing piece because it takes this team over the top. However, the Mets are still, on paper, around a 100-win team without Correa. And could they do something in the trade route? Possibly. I'm more pessimistic on that front for now until proven otherwise. But for the Twins, they're not even a playoff team without Correa, and they're a fringe playoff team right now with Correa. So maybe there is a desperation tactic that could be here. I don't know. Again, I really hope that Correa becomes a Met, but if it doesn't, am I going to be frustrated? Yes, but am I still going to defend Steve Cohen, who's done wonders for this team? Absolutely. How can I not, after another wonderful offseason he has done for this team and will continue to do in the years going forward? So Mets fans, I want to know all your thoughts in the comments below about what a whirlwind of a day it has been for me. Again, shout out all you guys for the endless support that I've seen in separate comments on Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. It has truly been beyond humbling. I'm forever grateful for your endless support, so thank you so much. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on. Thank you guys all. And again, when that Correa news happens, whether it's him signing with the Mets or going somewhere else or just the Mets not signing him, we'll make sure to break it on the channel as soon as humanly possible. But until then, have a great night, evening, day, whenever you're watching this, folks. This is Rory signing out. As always, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out, folks.